Hello and welcome to another NeuroHub Live. I'm David and I'm definitely not stressed. So my mother, Reverend Betsy, still might join us. However, she is having some significant technical issues in the form of no matter what we try, no sound will come out of her. Well, it comes out of her, it just doesn't come out of the computer after going through it. So technology is the bane of our lives today. And that's why we're going to talk about finding peace in a world that is trying to piss me off constantly. That's not exactly the title, but that's the title we're going with. And Helen very helpfully suggested we talk about glimmers, so we're going to get into that. For those of you who are new to our live streams, I'm David Gray Hammond. I'm the founder and CEO of NeuroHub Community, and I'll give you a brief audio description. I am a middle-aged-ish Mediterranean man with a shaved head, a beard, thick rimmed glasses, an ear tunnel. I'm wearing a black shirt, sat in a white leather chair in front of a tapestry that's kind of like the tree of life if it was at Christmas. Helen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Helen Edgar. I'm a co-director of NeuroHub Community with David and Adele and a wonderful team. My own platform is Autistic Realms. I am currently looking quite tired. I'm in my late 40s. I'm wearing glasses. I'm a white female with long reddish brown hair with increasingly white streaks in it. And I'm sat on my sofa. My laptop is on a unicorn.
Wonderful. Adele, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Adele Murray. I also work with Helen and David at NeuroHub Community, and I am also middle-aged white woman. I have dyed orange hair currently. I don't know if orange is good or not, but it goes all sorts of different colours. So if it's not good, it'll be different next week. Who cares? I wear big purple glasses with a granny chain so I don't lose them, because otherwise they will just go wherever into the ether if they're not tied to my face. Oh, I can tell you where I am as well. In my office / craft room with some of my crafty stuff behind me. And my t-shirt says crochet because murder is wrong, which says everything you need to know about me.
Brilliant. And it's true. It's true. Although I would argue sometimes murder is justified, but that's a conversation we can have another time.
I was thinking maybe
you sound very glimmery.
Maybe that's how you feel after the technical issues that we've had. David.
May not feel very glimmery, Helen, but it depends who you're murdering. And if you're on Insight Timer, I am now a teacher on the Insight Timer app, which apparently does things and lets you listen to things. I don't know, because I have downloaded the app and failed to actually look at it. But I'm on there, and there's free stuff you can access, stuff that like talks and a couple of meditations I've put on there. So if you're on the Insight Timer app or you'd like to download the Insight Timer app, please go drop me a follow on there, because it's really cool, apparently. I hope it is anyway, because I don't know much about it.
I've used Insight Timer app before for meditations and mindfulness. It is a really good platform. I've often found, though, that a lot of the meditations don't suit me as a neurodivergent person. So I'm really glad to see that you're on there, David, doing neurodivergent friendly meditations. It's really good.
Excellent. And as always, you can donate to this live stream to help keep NeuroHub doing its thing, because everything costs money now and the world is too expensive. But yeah, glimmers. I feel like someone else should start this off whilst my stress levels come down from earlier. So I'll watch the comments for a minute. Helen, would you like to explain what a glimmer is? Because you're so good at explaining this one.
Okay, so yeah, the term glimmer is actually, before we go on, I'm just going to just reaffirm to everybody that we hadn't planned to talk about glimmers less than 6 minutes ago. We were going to be having a conversation with David's mom, Reverend Betsy. And so this is a very new topic in my head right at this moment. However, I do like talking about glimmers. So glimmers was first kind of conceptualized by Deb Dana. I haven't got the exact date for that, but they've described it as micro moments of regulation that foster feelings of well-being. And a glimmer can be anything. It can be something that just, those little moments in your day that just bring you some joy and some comfort. It can be anything from kind of the texture and the feeling of your cardigan to the smell of coffee in the morning when you wake up. It could be the sound of your bath water running and trickling away. It could be the rain against the window. It might be the feel of the sand on your feet if you're on holiday. It's just those little tiny moments. They're not big life events. They're just those little moments in the day. And they've often been described to me as the opposite of a trigger. And they kind of spark that sense of well-being and can help you feel, if you kind of lean into your glimmers, I think they can help you feel a little bit more regulated. And they're often those little moments in life that go kind of unnoticed. They pass people by. You know, when we're all so busy, you were just talking about all the stress there with technology and money and finances and the world and everything going on. But when we just pause just for a second, and maybe we can do that now. Maybe we could just look around us now and notice what we're hearing, what we might be seeing or sensing or smelling, whether we've just eaten something, whether we've got a taste that we really enjoy, and whether there's a smell of our favourite perfume or our pet. Those little small moments that just bring you that little moment of joy that we can lean into. I can see Betsy's here now.
And Helen,
can you hear me though?
Yes, we can hear. Hey, my mother, Reverend Betsy, has arrived. It gets exciting.
You're in a chicken dinner. Hello. Hi, Betsy.
Hello. It's nice to be able to speak to you properly.
Oh, lovely to see you.
Nice to see you. We were just talking about little glimmers, little moments that bring us joy, Betsy, which does tie in really nicely with the original theme.
We've lost her again. She's pressed the wrong button.
It does tie in really nicely with your original theme, which is finding peace when the world is too much. So I think one of my glimmers today, I've currently got my huge golden doodle dog in front of me, and he's kind of lying across my feet at the moment. So that feels quite nice. So I've got his soft fur, and he's all warm and fluffy. So that's a bit of a glimmer for me to kind of think about.
I think for me, my biggest glimmer at the moment is I have a roof terrace. It's going to sound really weird. I can stand on the roof terrace and be as grumpy as I like about the people down on the street, and it affects no one. But something about being able to be grumpy about those people makes me feel so much better. It's like an outlet, like that person's driving too fast, that car's too noisy. And I'm up there going, yeah. And something about that it really brings me some peace. Because you can't, it's not really acceptable to shout and yell at people. But up on my terrace, I can be as grumpy as I like, and it's not hurting anyone. And by the time I'm done, I'm not grumpy anymore.
Betsy's back.
Don't press anything.
No, my phone slipped and I went to grab it and I knocked it off.
Oh.
Yeah, because someone's son destroyed my little phone stand, you see, and he's supposed to be buying me a new one. But
I don't know if I'm pointing to the right person. On my screen I am, but
oh well, David's over that way.
There you go. Look, there you go. You have a new stand on its way.
Oh, thank you.
David, you reminded me, about when you were saying being on your terrace and sort of being grumpy about the people that go past without them knowing about it. It reminded me of I think it was a children's TV program a while ago. It was like one of the comedy sketches, and the person used to sort of look at people through their fingers and go, I crush your head, I squeeze your head. And that used to be a thing that we used to do a lot. You'd sort of look at people from a distance and pretend that you were squeezing them. I promise it was a TV program. I don't think I was hallucinating that.
Do you think that would work with the bishop?
I would remind you, Mother, you're saying this live on the internet.
As long as he didn't know what you were doing and you were far enough away, he'd just see you doing this.
And that's definitely not the weirdest thing you've done in church.
It's like Father Ted when they were describing the little cows in the field, and he was saying big, and they're going far away.
But anyway, Mum, do you have any glimmers? You know, moments that bring you some peace and happiness?
Yes, well, I'm not trying to use technology.
Well, that would be one of them. Yeah.
No, when finding peace, and it's really funny because I find it in the weirdest of places.
Yeah.
I can be quite peaceful when I'm cleaning the bathroom, or playing with the cats. And of course, when I used to take a walk over in the woods with the dogs. The dogs used to get a bit brassed off with sitting, waiting while I enjoyed the green and the calm and the cool and everything else. But that was my favourite moment. And of course, I've got my lady chapel next door, so I go in there and find my peace. But I think one of my greatest moments was actually going up to the Trevor Mann unit. And there were some very, very poorly preterm babies. And I went in there to see one couple. And in the end, I saw a lot of couples because they all came over. And the feeling of peace in that place, amongst all that madness and grief and everything else, the sense of peace in that place was amazing. If you could have bottled it, you'd have made a fortune. It was absolutely beautiful. And every little milestone was celebrated. And, you know, each of the parents were supporting and guiding each other as well. Most of them had been there for days, weeks. And it was beautiful to see. And, it was just like a veil had been lifted and there was no other world apart from the one we were in at that time. So that was beautiful.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes, of course.
What strikes me is that sort of environment and what was going on for the families at the time kind of forced them to be in the here and now, in the present moment. And do you think that's got that sort of, you know, mindfulness often teaches us to be in the present moment and to just deal with what's happening right here and now? Do you think that might have been the reason why that sort of peaceful feeling was there so strong in that place?
I think it had a lot to do with it. And the fact that when you'd been there in their presence for a short while, you actually didn't hear the monitors and the blips and the beeps and everything else. And even when one little baby was taken really quite ill and the nurses came in and gathered around and what have you, it was all dealt with in such a wonderful way. There was no clamour, there was no panic. It was just, we're going to deal with this. They did. The baby lived, and in fact, she's several years old now.
That's lovely.
And I think being in the here and now and understanding, it's that moment when you understand you have no control over what's happening.
Yeah, I really relate to that. And that's kind of what we were talking about when we were talking about like leaning into those glimmers when like you're really, really stressed, just trying to find something to kind of hold on to and almost ground you. And through my own work as well, like it's a different kind of setting to what you've just described, but I worked with those with profound and multiple learning disabilities and for like a very long time, for like 20 years. And it was when I was with some of those children who were also like, some of them were very, very poorly as well. When you're just like there with them, there's no expectation of the moment. You're just in that moment together as two people being present and just kind of connecting. And whether we're connecting with other people or our pets or something more sensory, I think, that that can bring those little moments of peace.
It makes me think of my own mentoring work when I'm doing peer mentoring with like other autistic people, and you really get into that flow, that back and forth and discussion, even if you're just kind of putting the world to rights with that mentee, you know, there is a peace amongst you. And that's even like, bear in mind, I deliver it online. I'm not physically in the presence of these people. But sometimes when you're mentoring, sometimes it's really stressful. Sometimes things get overwhelming when you're mentoring. But a lot of the time when I'm mentoring autistic people, there's a feeling of being exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think there's a part of that is there's a power in that connection that you have with other human beings. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see the way that people respond when you have those profound moments, because often, particularly when you're mentoring, you have people coming to you who are questioning a lot in their life and really wondering where it is they're supposed to be going. And sometimes you're just in the moment with that person and they don't need to be going anywhere for that moment. And I think, you know, their peace kind of translates into peace for you.
Yeah, it's something that I found in my nursing career as well, that the most beautiful times were when you had that connection with a patient or patient's family that really sort of like made the sort of walls of the hospital disappear. Do you know what I mean? The curtains and the, like you say, the beeping noises and the noise and the people, and you were just present with that person from one human being to another, really sort of connecting, finding the humanity in each other really brings a sense of peace to both parties. And I think that's probably one of the core things that we struggle as individual autistic people, but also as an autistic community, because there is so many barriers for us to be sociable and to find community and connection in the way that suits our neurotype and our way of being in the world. And so being able to find deep connection with other people is something that is really, really important for all the human beings, but particularly I think for autistic people who don't necessarily socialize and connect in a neurotypical way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I've been, I think being autistic as well, I'm obviously going to be talking about monotropism again here, but I've been thinking about what's called like that, you know, the spiky profile and kind of sensory, like hyperarousal or hypoarousal, just like just how things can be so intense for us. And I've kind of rethought about that in my head about it's more like a constellation of intensities. And so when everything is feeling like so intense and maybe so unpredictable as well, I think going back to the title of this, like the world does just feel too much at times. And when you're monotropic, like all of that overwhelm can be really difficult to manage, and it can be really hard to get a balance between things. Just how we're all kind of judged against other standards.
I'm really interested if people watching wanted to join in the comments. We can see your comments. You know, what are the things, what are the glimmers that help you? What are the moments that bring you peace and comfort? Because I'd be really interested to hear what people watching think of this. If you're happy to share it with us. So you just type it in the comments, it'll pop up for us and we'll be able to see it.
Or if you've got any stories about how you find connection and community with other people, how that helps you, you know, especially if you find connection in a sort of non-typical way. So like online communities is a big thing, and can be quite frowned upon from the neurotypical community. They quite sort of look down upon chat groups and stuff as being a bit weird or a bit out there, or not you know, the done way of socializing. You haven't got real friends if they're online, that sort of thing. But obviously for a lot of neurodivergent people, myself included, this is the only real way that I can have that proper community experience outside of my own sort of family, immediate family. And it's something that is absolutely vital for me. I'm not able to get out and about. I have panic disorder and agoraphobia. So being out in the world is far too overwhelming. This way of communicating, this way of finding community dampens down that extreme overwhelm that I feel out in the real world, and allows me to have connection in a way that is on my level, on my terms, and is and brings me that sort of joy and peace.
And for me, it was connecting with people, other autistic people online, that actually got me to a place where I could leave the house and interact with others. And in fact, given that my mother's here, I would invite her right now. Mum, you have my permission to talk about what I was like before I was able to leave the house again after the psych ward, and how long I was trapped in the house for.
You know what, David, I can't remember. It was a very long time, and it took you a lot of effort to actually even step towards the front door. I mean, you're a bit like a caged animal, but when you open the cage door, you couldn't go out, because that brought you more pain than it did staying in and away from people.
Yeah. And I have to say, it was finding the autistic community that built a lot of my confidence, a lot more, I would say, than many therapists. A lot of therapy was very kind of bog standard CBT, and kind of just felt like medical gaslighting, to be honest. But you know, interacting with other autistic people kind of got me to a point where I had a reason to leave the house again. A reason to overcome the fear, because I wanted to go and meet people and join in with things, and at a certain point something just clicked, and I just did the scary thing. And it was kind of like, have you ever seen that cartoon of the guy in his comfort zone? He has to press the button that says do the thing, and as he runs to press the button, he's screaming the whole way, presses the button, and then collapses back into his comfort zone. I was like that for a very long time, and to be honest, I'm still a bit like that. You know, I'd go out, I mean, I went to Switzerland to present at a conference at the beginning of this month, and pretty much the whole 3 days was like the guy screaming as he runs for the button. The only advantage was they had some really pretty mountains and Lake Geneva, which, when we're talking about glimmers, it turns out lakes and mountains are a huge glimmer for me, by the way. My next petition to Parliament is to put more mountains on the South Coast. I don't know how much control they have over tectonic plates, but they need to look into it, because we need some more mountains. We don't have enough mountains, and it's not fair that Scotland and Wales have one and we don't. So
Nature's a huge glimmer for a lot of people. It is for me as well.
I'll tell you what, JT, one of our directors, watched as I took my shoes off, threw my crutch to the side, and just walked out into Lake Geneva. And I think he was concerned I wasn't going to stop walking, because he was like, David, we don't know if there's a sudden ledge that drops off.
It sounds a little bit like you were being healed at that point.
It felt very healing, actually. It was one of those spiritual moments, you know, like Mum, you know, like the old biblical baptisms in the River Jordan, where they walked out into the river and were submerged. It's kind of like that going into Lake Geneva, except there were boats that could kill me if they hit me, which was less biblical, because they didn't have speedboats in the Bible that I'm aware of.
Yeah, it's your mum's here, David. Like, hi again, Betsy. I'd just love to like find out a little bit more about your relationship and like within the context of this title here. Hi, Annalise and Bob as well there. Like finding peace together, with both of your needs and different kind of lifestyles that you've got, how you kind of work around that together.
Lord, hang on a minute. Sorry about this. Hang on. Can't talk to you. Right.
Our
Sorry, could you
lifestyles are
repeat
actually
that
remarkable.
for me?
What?
Sorry?
Oh, Helen, could you repeat the question?
I haven't got any questions written down, but yeah, I was just thought, like since you're here with us today, Betsy, it'll be a really lovely opportunity to kind of find out a little bit more about yours and David's relationship. There's obviously lots of different dynamics. David's had lots of challenging times. I'm sure you've had challenging times as well. And just like, how you manage to work together if you do sometimes to kind of find peace and support each other.
I think oh Lord, you've disappeared again.
You may have switched your camera off, Betsy.
Oh no, there you go.
There she is.
I think the fun thing is that actually we kind of accidentally work together most of the time. And there are occasions where I will look at him and say, well, this has got nothing to do with the work I do. And actually he proves me wrong, and vice versa. And I think sometimes if you are in a community, it has a very similar feel to the moment of when I'm out there with the congregation or with the community. I try and get out in the community as often as I possibly can, and we do an awful lot for them. I don't know, David, what do you reckon? I mean, there are occasions where we drive each other mad.
Yeah, I mean, we have vicious arguments from time to time. But I think we both find peace in very similar ways, because we've discussed this before. The work we do, although yours is obviously based in a religious institution of sorts, and mine is based in, I don't know, I was trying to explain Deleuze and Guattari to someone earlier, and the only thing I could say to them was that no one can agree on what they mean on anything. But actually, that's pretty similar to the Bible. But yeah. Both of us, our lines of work have turned out to be remarkably similar in their own ways. Because I know for you, like Mum, you people assume that as a priest you just kind of rock up to church on a Sunday and do your thing. But you're a priest. You basically do social work. You run a food bank, or were running a food bank for a long time, and I know you're trying to rerun it soon. Like. You do so much for the community, and you really played it down actually, because you're like a local celebrity in your little area of Brighton. Like, I can't walk more than 5 meters with you in Brighton without someone stopping us to talk to you. Oh, by the way, never go to London with her, because people come up to her in McDonald's and ask for blessings.
Oh, that's awesome.
You sound so proud of your mum, though. It's lovely to hear you talk about your mum. It's lovely you being here, Betsy. But I think your work is really similar, just in different ways. With like you're kind of supporting. Well, I guess in very similar ways as well, because you're both out there supporting like mutual aid and people's well-being.
I would say like 90% of my mother's work is mutual aid work, and like the actual services take up probably the smaller amount of time. It's all the stuff that happens outside the services that keeps Mum so busy.
Yeah, it is. But this is something that I've discussed with so many other priests. The fact that we can plan our day, we can have a diary in front of us, we can have everything set out. But the thing is with our ministry is that we never know when something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so in the middle of a telephone call or a middle of a discussion, somebody could
middle of the night on a few occasions.
Yeah, several times in the middle of the night. And suddenly you have to be in that moment. And I think if you don't actually learn to try and find some peace in that moment, it would drive you mad. because you never know what you're going to get thrown into. Who's that? That's just
That's Carlin from our community. And
Hi,
Carlin wants
Carlin.
you to know that her Betsy is in awe of you. Her Betsy is a dog, I believe.
Yeah, it's that little dog. You can see their little picture. They're beautiful little doggies.
Yeah.
She's really cute. Really cute. Yeah, so it's I think similarly David and I can also have moments when I'll come in, I've had to say to him for a couple of times, you know, he'll say, "Oh, you don't sound in a very good mood. Well, just leave me alone just for a short while." Because we both have that feeling of I just want to get, it's been too peoply out there, and I just want to get into my safe space, surround myself with, well, at the moment I'm surrounded by cats, but surround myself with whatever makes me feel happy. Knitting wool, that's the other thing. I have a passion for knitting.
Okay. No, Mum, you have a problem with knitting.
Nobody has a problem with knitting.
Every cupboard I open has wool in it.
Every
cupboard, every footstool,
David.
every
It's called
crevice.
being passionate. And
I 100% behind Betsy here. There is no such thing as having a problem with yarn, wool, knitting, or crochet.
Do not facilitate this. You're enabling my mother. You are enabling my mother.
We will share patterns, Betsy.
Thank you. That would be lovely.
She has a wool problem and she needs an intervention.
No, she doesn't. She needs more wool.
It's not the knitting that's the problem. It's the shit. No one could use that amount of wool in a lifetime.
But I will.
He doubts your abilities.
Betsy. I know.
We know what we can do with what he should see my craft room. But
Adele is very into crochet.
Obsessed.
Are you?
Now I spin my own yarn.
I sometimes spin my own wool from rovings and what have you. But
funnily enough, you picked that up from another priest, didn't you?
I did. We went to a deliverance team teaching weekend at one of the abbeys. Can't remember the name of it now. It's absolutely beautiful. And he sat there and he was wearing his kilt. He was Welsh and he was wearing his kilt and he had this long white beard. And I thought, what on earth is he doing? And there he was with a hand spindle. Yeah, that's right. And he was spinning his own. Yeah, drop spindle. That's it. And he was winding his own wool, you know, spinning his own wool. And then he would knit it. Like, oh, look, that's gorgeous.
It's crafting is one of those glimmers that I think has such benefits. Not only are you doing something with your hands and creating something, the sort of the tactile thing of it, the smell of it, everything about it is. I think crafting, you see it a lot online in the neurodivergent community.
It's really interesting what you said there, because I've been involved in a project with Amy Skinner and Kay Aldred. Amy's based at York St John University, and they've had some funding to do a project. It's been going on for the past 2 years now. And we're just coming to the end of it, but we've been meeting up every few weeks over the past year or so. Basically doing it's a craft project. It was part of Neurodiverse Connections as well originally, I think, and we've been exploring neurodivergent cultures of regulation through different crafting activities. So we've done all sorts. We've done like mask making, we've done journaling, we've done all sorts of stuff, and I learned to crochet, which is my biggest achievement by far this whole year. I managed to do a whole thing of crochet, and and it's been really wonderful to do that. Cooper Anna's just said they love watching people spin wool. It's mesmerising.
Betsy, I will have to come down south. I will bring my spinning wheel and I will teach you how to spin on the spinning wheel, and we could create a whole series teaching Reverend Betsy to spin.
That would be amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Spin and glim. We can have a spinning and glim session, spinning and glimmers.
Again, you see, it's such a mindful practice.
Yes.
Because for me, when I'm doing something, even if I'm sorting my wool, which I do occasionally, don't I, David?
Yes.
Organising it by colour, by weight, all of these things.
And even when I'm doing that, it's still a moment where I'm not worried about the state of the world or the emails that my church warden's expecting from me this week, or the business plans that the bishop wants, because I can put it to one side. And the texture, some wool I can't touch. I go to pick it up and I'm like, no, can't work with that one. And I give that one away to another knitting club round the corner. But I've done crazy things. I mean, I've got you can't see it from there, but I've got a lace making cushion there where I'm teaching myself on video to do bobbin lace making.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, Betsy, but you are my hero. My nana taught me bobbin lace.
Really?
When I was about 9 years old, and she took me to a crafting group, and what she taught me all how to do all my crafting stuff, basically knitting, sewing, clothing, everything. And she was my hero. And what she used to do, she lived till she was 101, and up until the last year of her life, she was traveling the world teaching people how to do bobbin lace. And I have some of her bobbins from when she passed away. They got spread around the family when she passed away, and I have some of them. But she showed me how crafting can regulate you. When I was a child, sitting at her knee, watching her knit, the rhythm of the knitting, the way the wool bounced about, the colours of the wool, the patterns, the charts in the patterns, like
it's very stimmy, isn't it? It's very
stimmy. The sort of maths that's involved with it, and graphs and charts. I got fascinated by these things because of knitting and because of craft. And she also showed me that it wasn't just a solitary pastime, that it involved community as well.
Yeah.
She would take me to these crafting groups, meet all the other women that were doing it. And that's where stories were told, that, we can look at the phrase, oh, they spin a good yarn, means to tell a story. Where does it come from? It comes from spinners at home, passing the time with people around, telling stories, being community, and taking as much or as little from that moment as they need. And I think that's what we really, really miss.
Yeah, we do. That kind of intermittent collaboration, like on your own time. So you're together, but you're doing something yourself, and you can join in. It's like parallel play, kind of body doubling. You can do it by yourself, or with others, or one line, or in person, and it just works for a lot of neurodivergent communities, especially even more so. I think it can be more regulating in a way.
The other thing I find is that I don't have to stick to anybody else's patterns. I mean, David has a blanket that I made him that is incredibly random. It's got all different weights of wool in it.
It's enormous and it's heavy as well, which I like.
I made one for his sister, and he got really jealous and said he had to have one as well. And the trouble is now my grandson, David's son, is also saying that he wants a nana blanket. So I've just started doing a blanket for him. But you're right about charts, because I'm charting the letters that I want to knit into Oliver's blanket. And it's that opportunity of thinking that one day when I'm not around, Oliver hopefully will still have that blanket.
Absolutely. And that connection between you, the yarn, the finished object, and your grandson is
Yeah.
something that's so precious.
Yeah.
And I think when you learn how to knit and sew and do all that sort of thing, and you're given a piece of a hand knitted item, you recognize that every stitch was touched by those hands. Every stitch was a conscious decision. Every stitch was a conscious movement.
Yeah.
And it gives you that, again, we go sort of back to the here and now. It gives you a real connection with what that person was doing at that specific moment in time, who they were at that moment.
I think this is relevant to the comment on screen as well, because
Yeah.
they say storytelling is a beautiful art itself, such a needed piece of community building. And I think it plays a role for me in why I do the work I do, because I write books, I write blogs, I do these videos. And for me, it's storytelling. It's part of my community building. And I know that long after I'm gone, because we all know how permanent the internet is, long after I'm gone, parts of me will still be out there in the world for hopefully the people I care about.
Yeah.
As well as anyone else it may help. And I think for me, that's one of the biggest glimmers, is being able to know that some part of what I'm doing brings other people peace.
I think this is
stay with
Sorry.
that. Sorry, Betsy. I was
No,
going to
go
say
on.
just how transformative. So people share stories, but those stories get shared, and then they get shared, and they're transforming people's lives
Yeah.
throughout those generations as well. Then, so
And that's how it always was. We didn't have the instant news on a screen in front of us, or on a radio even. We didn't have instant things, breaking news, all of this. It used to take time to travel from village to village. And if it was an emergency, someone found a horse or a donkey and got there quicker, but I don't think we had time in those days to absorb what was going on around it and around us. And we didn't have to panic every 5 minutes. I've got a couple of young mums that come to talk to me. They can't cope these days with even turning on a TV set, because they're frightened that those words are going to come up on the bottom of the screen saying breaking news.
Yeah.
Because they are terrified of what is going on. And the sad thing is that most of these young people, they haven't had that opportunity of sitting with family members, telling stories of the past. Oh, I used to love it. I had my great-grandma lived until she was 84, I think it was. I'd known her since I was a baby. She lived with us for years. The stories that she used to be able to tell, and it suddenly made your place in the world more understandable. And you also got to understand that the things that were going on then, they had wars and they had some terrible things happening, but they had community and they had family. So much of that has been destroyed now. And this is
I kind of see community building in the way that we do it as an act of resistance now.
Yes.
I think of things like the NeuroHub community that we run.
Yeah.
And it is an act of resistance. It's people joining together, finding power in that connection and finding solace in that connection. A solace which has been denied to so many of us by the individualism of neoliberal society. We live in a society that encourages you to see yourself as an individual and be totally self-sufficient, which inherently disempowers you. And so when we come together and form communities, we are resisting that normative framework under which we are self-sufficient, and accepting the truth that humans are interdependent creatures. We all depend on each other.
Definitely. And I think I remember sharing a book with you a couple of years back, David, called Sandtalk by Tyson Yunker Porter. I don't know whether you remember me.
I vaguely remember that. I can't remember if I've read it because I've read so many
how
books.
Indigenous thinking can save the world. And they're kind of looking at like global systems and going back to like Indigenous traditions, such as they talk about yarning, which is what made me think of it specifically, like literally storytelling kind of around campfires and writing stories like in as the customs would have been for some communities, like on the ground, to convey their kind of knowledge and share things. And it's a really interesting book because he shares how we need to kind of go back to those to building community. Like, as we said, the world is really, really overwhelming. We need to kind of lean into those little moments of glimmers, share our stories with each other, connect with each other, validate each other's ways of being in the world, whether that's spiritually, physically, sensorily, or whatever. And I just think it's a really interesting. It was one of the books that kind of underpinned a lot of my work before I ended up down the Deleuzian route, David. It kind of.
Can you put the title of that in the chat, please, Helen?
I
Because
will
that's
do,
what
yes.
I'd like to.
It's really good.
The word is slipping my mind right now, but the name for the watering holes, caves, and campfires.
Yeah, Cavendish Space. Yeah,
Cavendish Space. That's
I'm really itchy to talk about that, but I didn't want to take over your whole.
No, talk about Cavendish Space. We have some time, because I think Cavendish Space is relevant to this idea of community building and finding peace in community building.
It is. So I'm just going to drop in a link to.
While you're doing that, Helen, I just quickly wanted to say that in our community as well, one of our community members is running a Zoom group once a week for journaling, and it has kind of started off as like lots of different ideas on how to journal, but it's also opening up some really interesting discussions about being in the moment, mindfulness, memory, storytelling, sort of. It's even dipping into sort of like anti-capitalist rhetoric as well. This idea that in order for us to be valued, we have to be productive in a particular way, and to be always going 100%, and make money for people, make money for yourself, make money for these big companies. Whereas what we're talking about here is about creating communities. It doesn't have to be this big, grandiose, all fireworks, singing and dancing things. It's the connection. It's the real deep beauty, the slowness, the here and now, the memories, remembering old stories, but also incorporating your story and then passing it on, that sort of thing. Sorry.
And having the safe spaces to be able to do that, which leads me on to Cavendish Space. That's a nice little link there. So Cavendish Space was initially developed by Ryan Bowen from Stimpunks kind of conceptualized Cavendish Space through their inspiration of Steve Silberman's Neurotribes book, where they spoke about Henry Craft Cavendish, who was a scientist kind of going way back when, and their unique kind of way of being in the world was very similar to many autistic people's experiences. They needed a lot of kind of time by themselves. They felt things quite intensely. And they needed, their own time to kind of process and think about things. So from the kind of work of Henry Cavendish and their whole lifestyle. So I'm just flicking through our things here. We developed Cavendish Space based around the need of 3 primordial learning spaces, which is the cave space, which is a space that people need to be by themselves, to rest, to re-regulate, to process their thoughts, to re-energize themselves. So for me, that's like my little den upstairs. It could be even a space online sometimes when you just kind of want to, just switch off.
It's the space that I refer to, I think, when I talk about nesting.
Nesting, it is your nesting space, David. It's very, very, very similar, yeah. So we've got the cave space, which is kind of where we nest, the watering hole, which is another primordial kind of learning space. When you think of how in the past people and animals used to gather, and they still do, around watering holes as a kind of survival mechanism, but also that was their time to kind of interact with each other, engage, to share stories, to maybe play alongside each other, with no goals or aims, just a very kind of informal, low demand way of being together at that time. And then I'm just checking, my computer just switched off momentarily then, David. I'm just making sure I'm still here. And then we've got the campfire space, which is the storytelling space, which is what we've been talking about here. In a way, it's a space where people share stories and they learn from each other. So it may be more of a moment of learning and passing on knowledge to other people around a campfire scenario. These you don't have to have a real campfire or a real watering hole. They're kind of metaphorical. Although within our Stimpunks community, we do actually have those names within our Discord server for our different spaces. So our campfire space is our learning space where we watch different YouTubes and lectures and share. Everybody gets a chance to kind of info dump and share what they're interested in. Our watering hole is just like a drop in when everybody wants to join in. And then, my cave space is kind of where I live. I just think it's a really good way of thinking about neurodivergent needs and giving people the safe spaces and the autonomy to go into those different areas when they need to find peace. Sometimes your peace isn't just by being by yourself. Your peace might be around a campfire with other people. It might be playing alongside somebody. It might be having a cup of coffee. If your moments of peace are going to look different. Your glimmers are going to look different depending on where you are in your day.
And Mum, Reverend Betsy.
Sorry, that's a huge info dump, David.
No, I'm interested to hear Mum's response, particularly knowing that my mother is very much into Christian mysticism and the Christian mystics.
Yeah, well, I'd be really curious.
And how that relates to some of your learning there, Mum, like about finding peace and spaces and.
Well, if you go to Saint Teresa of Avila, she had several practices that actually brought her into a place of peace. She wrote a book called The Interior Castle, which was her way of praying and envisaging our heart as being a mansion and the central room being the place where God dwelt. And it was like a crystal mansion, like a crystal castle. She spoke she wrote in the same way as she spoke. So she was cast aside by most academics because she didn't write academically. And that's probably the reason why I loved her so much. But the mysticism involved in it and the coming together and the various different rooms, I was thinking of it when you were speaking about Cavendish Place, was it? Yeah?
Cavendish Spaces.
Space. Cavendish Space, and you were speaking of, the area where you rest, the area where you learn, and that really tied in with the way that she was teaching people how to pray. So you started off in this room, and then gradually, as you were ready, you would move on through until you found that moment of total relaxation and total peace. I'm modernizing the words there, but it was such a beautiful read, and it made a huge difference to me because I learned that nothing was going to happen, going back to an old idiom, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was finding peace. Neither was finding the right place or the right thing for you. It's one of the reasons why we paused the food bank for a while, because we've been open since, we were doing hot meals and all sorts during lockdown. it had got to the point we were only serving one need, and that was they were coming in, getting their food and going. We did have a room where we could sit and chat, and some of them did. But I suddenly realised that we needed to be doing far, far more to help them out of that spiral, because some of them are, you know, they're in such depressive lives. And, you know, they've got young families and they're struggling. And so it's now going to open up. We're going to, in fact, I'm trying to think, the watering hole sounds quite nice to be a cafe, actually. So we're going to have a temporary cafe in the church to begin with, till I can persuade them to build one on the side of the hall. But then while I'm thinking of all of this, I suddenly hear that the local council has got a farmyard that's leasehold is coming, you know, it's beginning to, the original leaseholders are giving up next year. And they're looking for people that can make something of it while still maintaining a farming aspect, but also encouraging people into the area. And I immediately sent a message to my bishop and my archdeacon saying, I think its title was "The Mad Ideas Are Sometimes the Best Ideas." The bishop said to me, "Oh, talk to the archdeacon." And I was amazed to come home and find a letter from the archdeacon saying he was going to follow this up because he felt that it had so much to offer. Obviously, it would depend on looking for funding and what have you. But I saw a quiet space where people have got those individual areas where they can be busy, or they can tell stories, or they can sit and have a drink of some sort, tea, coffee, whatever. It would be a place where people would come time and time again, particularly as I want them to have Jacob sheep and Tamworth pigs and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Betsy, I'm in. 100%. I'm coming down. I will look after those sheep. I will teach people how to spin the fleece.
Yeah, that's one of
them. I'm in.
That's one of the things I said to the archdeacon. I said, you know, we could have sheep. He said, what are you going to do with them? I said, hand shear them and weave the wool, wash and card and weave and
make clothes, make items, you know.
Yeah. Neuro Hub community is definitely getting involved in this project, so
I'm in.
Yeah.
Why do I live so far away from you guys?
You've got a director and 2 associate directors here. We've all already decided we outnumber everyone else. We're on our way.
I hate to say this.
Lovely comments, Betsy, as well in the chat. Anna has said, finding true belonging is a spiritual practice and a journey of self-acceptance and authenticity. And it's the journey that they're currently on.
That is absolutely brilliant.
Lots of people saying how interesting your work is. And
that is absolutely fascinating. Oh,
really lovely.
That is good. I'm going to have to cut and run, I'm afraid, because I've got an MRI scan that I've got to get to.
They're going to find out if they need to add more duct tape and chewing gum to my mother.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So it's been up
just for context, my mum fell 3 meters off a ladder about 3 years ago, and they're still putting her back together.
And she's still going. You're still going, Betsy, and starting all these new projects.
My mother has 2 fractures in her spine, has had to have a shoulder replacement. And you had a previous surgery on that soldier to keep it in place whilst you waited for the shoulder replacement. So she came away from that accident with bilateral pneumothorax, dislocated shoulder, and a double fracture to the spine. Oh, and you've got a broken shoulder blade as well that's likely never going to heal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And now
she still gets out there and does all this stuff, and I'm like, no.
Anyway, I've got to go because otherwise they're going to be really miffed that I don't turn up.
I think it's probably a good time to kind of wind this down. But thank you to everyone who's tuned in. We've had a really good chat, and please do watch back on the recording. It'll be available on Facebook, YouTube. I'll get it out everywhere. I'll put it on Substack too. Thank you to everyone who's been commenting and tuning in. As always, you can donate to this live stream here. Someone else is clicking things at the same time as me. Let me try that again. So if you go to bit.ly/neurohub-live, you can make a small donation to help us pay for the cost of the streaming stuff and all of that. And yeah, please do, share things about, and really looking forward to the next one, which will be on Monday, unless I've gone and booked something else in this week as well, which I have a tendency of doing. I never know what's happening. That's why I have an assistant. And it's been a pleasure. And everyone who doesn't have to run, if you hold on, I will see you after we finish being live. But thank you and take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.